The 2019 Classic Tetris World Championships are happening in just a few days and are going to be bigger in just about every way. The venue's bigger, the bracket's bigger, the prize pool's bigger, and I'll be breaking that all down in this video. But above all, the level of competition is likely to be absolutely insane compared to what we've seen in the past. And thanks to an incredible amount of research and data compilation led by Chris Foryst over the recent months, I'm able to show a graph that I think illustrates why. So in NES Tetris, getting a max out, which means scoring 1,000,000 points and maxing out the score counter, is the first kind of big hallmark achievement for elite NES Tetris players to attain. A max-out player is someone who's shown that they're seriously good. So this is going to be a chart that shows how many people have achieved a max-out in each of the last 30 years. First, we have Thor Ackerland in 1990. Now, there's no video of him getting his max-out at the time, but he was the Nintendo World Champion, and he eventually did get a max-out on tape, so no one has any reason to doubt him. Then we have to skip ahead 13 years to Jonas Neubauer in 2003. Again, he didn't have a video until a couple years later, but given everything he's done since, no reason to doubt. Then we have Harry Hong getting his first recorded max out in 2009, which spearheaded the documentary that eventually became Ecstasy of Order and got this whole ball rolling. And then the annual tournament started in 2010, which raised the stakes for players to get better. So by the time 2012 comes, there's 4 new max out players: Matt Bucco, Alex Kerr, Eli Markstrom, and Ben Mullen, all early CTWC competitors. Then the max out players continue to trickle in and begin to taper off. And then it's during the year of 2017 that the 2016 finals and the meme videos really took off and inspired a new round of players. So in 2018, that number jumps up to 11, and this year includes people such as Joseph and Green Tea, who all made a splash in the 2018 competition. And that year really exploded the popularity and recognition of the competitive scene. And then in 2019, there's been way more regional qualifier events, multiple online tournaments every month, and how many new max out players? 26. This is the entire chart in context. Yeah, this year is going to be crazy. It'd be impossible to cover everyone, but here's just a quick rundown of some of the new max out players that are going to be attending for the very first time. There's several players from the United States who have already shown their dominance in the regional qualifiers. Dan QZ, who just started playing at the end of 2018 and got his first max out September 8th of this year, has made a name for himself in the Classic Tetris Monthly with some incredibly close matches with Corion in the July semifinals. And in the Pittsburgh qualifier bracket, stacked with CTWC veterans such as Chris, Peter, and Mike, Dan emerged victorious. And Matt, who got his first max out over the summer and showed up out of nowhere to the Southern qualifier to also face a bracket stacked with CTWC veterans such as Joey, Josh, Jake, and Robin, also emerged victorious. And Joseph isn't going to be the youngest competitor this year. 2 new players even younger than Joseph are Alan, aka Brodendamp on Twitch, who got his first max out September 9th this year and had a good showing in the West Coast qualifier, and Aiden, aka Batfoy on Twitch, who actually got his first max out right after the tournament last year on October 31st, has been amazing in the Classic Tetris Monthly, winning that same month of October and later pulling off one of the most impressive combos ever in competition, a back-to-back T-spin and line spin on level 28. It's not just new United States players generating excitement though, this is a true world competition now. Mark, who got his first max out September 3rd this year, dominated the Germany CTWC to win a trip to Portland, and his post-victory interview shocked me.
You had been training for PAL, is that correct?
Yes.
How long have you been playing PAL Tetris?
For about 1 year, I would say.
1 year? How long have you been playing NTSC Tetris?
3 days.
3 days.
That's an amazingly quick transition. Mark is also a hyper tapper with a unique grip, and perhaps most impressively, has a video of himself completing 19.5 on B-type. Yeah, 19.5. Are you kidding me? There's also Michael, aka NES Cardinality, who is a prominent Twitch streamer that does speedruns of all the classic NES games and owns world records in many of them. He's played NES Tetris for years, but recently got his first max out on September 5th of this year and won the Canada qualifier to get a trip out to Portland. And speaking of Canadians, there's also more modern legends of Tetris that have recently made the switch to NES Tetris and are going to be competing this year, such as Microblizz, the legend from Tetris Friends, rest in peace Tetris Friends, who is unimaginably fast in his speedruns and got his own first NES Tetris max out on January 18th this year. And there's a lot of former competitors returning too, such as Louis Scooey, who hasn't competed in the CTWC since 2012 and got his first max out way back in 2013. But perhaps no one has waited longer to return to competition than Dave Lopez, who took part in the Nintendo World Championships as a kid, the same tournament that inspired the modern CTWC decades later. And last year, Dave finally picked up Tetris again and beat his childhood score of 825,000 by getting a max out on August 10th tournament this year. He attended 3 qualifiers this year and did better every time, just missing the cutoff in the West Coast qualifier, making the first round in the Eastern qualifier, and making it all the way to the finals in the New England qualifier, showing that it's not just the new generation that's making noise, the original generation can still generate hype too. And although everyone I've mentioned so far is a max out player, you don't have to have gotten a max out to be an amazing competitor. Jeff Moore, who famously faced Jonas in the 2016 finals, didn't get his first max out until 2 years later in October of 2018. So while the following players are still on their journey to get their first max out, I'm incredibly excited to see what they can do. Paul clutched out a plane ticket to Portland with his incredibly calm and collected digging throughout the Singapore qualifier, and Tang from Taiwan kept up the paces with Jonas Neubauer in a friendly match after he won a trip from the Taiwan qualifier. Eris, the guy who bought Yanni's plane ticket this past year, has developed into an amazing player in his own right, actually getting to play Yanni in the quarterfinals of the European Championships and coming within 1,000 points of his score in the deciding game, and he's now finally getting to come out to Portland himself. Anthony Jones, also known as AMJ Productions, is making his debut and has put together some amazing CTWC edits, including this awesome training montage for the 2019 tournament. It's Sharky, who founded the Classic Tetris Gauntlet online tournament, is also looking to make a splash.
I just got a 900K! Holy crap! Oh my gosh!
And Van Dweller, who has been the event organizer and commentator for the Classic Tetris Monthly for the past year, is going to be a new commentator for the early rounds. And again, the incredible thing is that these are just some of the new people who are going to be there this year. So it's no surprise that 2019 is now going to feature an expanded bracket with 48 seeds instead of 40, and now a colossal round 0. Instead of just the finals, the top 8 are now all going to be best of 5 matches. And to house all the action, the location has now gotten an upgrade as well. After being tucked away in the corner of the expo hall for the past couple years, the CTWC will now have its own room at the Portland Retro Gaming Expo, double the space it previously had. And that space is going to be put to good use. The tournament's side games have been expanded again this year to now include Dr. Mario again, the Tetris Speedrun, which last year everyone went with pretty traditional right-well setups, but this year we have people like Nescar, the speedrunner, going, who has some pretty gutsy setups in his Tetris speedruns, so I'd be excited to maybe see some boards like this one this year. And then the No Next Box competition is now starting on level 15 this year, giving DAS players a little bit of a chance to decide where to move their piece. And then new this year, Invisible Tetris and Tetris Mind Meld. The last one, Tetris Mind Meld, is a team event where one person handles the D-pad actions and the other person handles the flips, and is the brainchild of a top secret Tetris laboratory where diabolical new competitive contests are concocted, otherwise known as Trey's Garage, where after a few false starts, Jonas and Trey showed that the concept was viable, collectively scoring over 500,000 as a team. And another really cool thing is that Invisible Tetris and the speedrun are being sponsored by Cogworks Laboratory, the research team that is using Tetris as a way to study how the human mind works. So there's now a prize of $450 to each of the winners. And the main tournament has been sponsored by the Tetris company itself, kicking the prize pool up from $1,500 last year to a whole $10,000, with the top 16 all now getting to walk away with a prize. This is really cool in a lot of ways. One, it gives a lot more weight to each of the rounds. Heck, even those round of 32 matches are now going to have $250 riding on them. But it's also finally going to give some of the most talented players in the world some well-deserved compensation, especially those who've been traveling from outside North America. Although in my last video I made a graphic showing how I traveled almost 3,000 miles to the tournament last year, it really pales in comparison to the trip that a lot of other players have to make. Corian will have been making flights across the ocean for 4 years now, and Yanni will have been doing it for 7. And traveling from outside the United States adds a whole level of logistical and legal hurdles, which is why Richard, the runner-up in the European Championship and considered one of the brightest new talents in Tetris, won't be able to make it this year. Richard, you'll be missed. But the future of NES Tetris is looking up. The tournament keeps getting bigger, more and more people are being able to make it out, and the behind-the-scenes team is working incredibly hard to make the tournament happen. There's been some photos circulating around of the preparations, and it looks just about as complex as I could have imagined. Hats off to everyone making the tournament happen. It looks like it's going to be one to remember.